Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahawah Chakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the brother Yatazakbal with the GMS Nebraska camp. This is GMS Endeavor. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is a quick exhortation on the investment that we are making in this truth. This is the biggest investment that we will ever make on anything in our lives. Because this investment we're making is sacrificing our current lives for a life to come. Laying up our treasures in heaven, as the scriptures say. 1 second. And the thing about this investment is that we have to stay patient. Well, that's when you invest in anything. It takes patience. It takes seeing down the line, and waiting for the fruits of whatever you're planting or whatever you're working for. I've seen firsthand with a brother I know. He made an investment. That he's seeing the fruits of that investment. Now, but I remember when he first started investing, and there were doubts. So like I had to turn my do not disturb on. There were doubts at the beginning. There were bumps in the road. There were times where he thought that the investment he was making was for no reason because there were failures. People around him doubted. But now he is seeing the fruits of the patience that he had of sticking through sticking through with the course that he had in mind and sticking with it to the end. And bringing it to the scriptures, for example, when we look at Noah, when he was building the ark, he was building that ark for years, prophesying, hey, it's going to rain, the Lord is going to flood this earth. And everybody thought he was bugging. Nobody would listen to him, and he kept on keeping on. He stayed faithful. And when that flood came, only Noah, his 3 sons, and all of their wives were saved. And everybody else perished. Now it was the Lord's will, but it is an example. It's an example of what we're going through in this truth, because while we're out here working and toiling and trying our best to please Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai and prophesying and letting our people know what's about to happen and laying our treasures up in heaven, you have the doubters around us. You have the people who aren't trusting in the process that is laid out before us. You have the scoffers. You have people that we may have been in relationships with that have separated from us because of this investment we're making. You have the fallouts. You have the people that will, basically stir up doubt in us. But we have to block all that out. Now, Salaki, I want to grab this precept, James chapter 5, verse 7, which says, "Be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and had long patience for it, until he received the early and latter rain." So this is basically a metaphor with a farmer, where when you are planting all them seeds, when you're planting all them crops, it's not like a couple days pass and then them crops grow. There's a process to plants growing, obviously, and it takes time. You have to wait for, the rain. You have to wait for harvest season, where the fruit of your labor of tending to those crops and watering them and making sure that, they are cultivated. Once you have stayed with the process and stayed patient, the fruit is plentiful. Same thing when you plant a seed for a personal plant, a household plant, or a flower. You have to continue to water that plant, make sure it's getting its sunlight, and it may take a while. I remember the Elder Malcolm showed the video where he had a plant. He told the story how it was a very long time where that plant just wouldn't bloom. It just wouldn't bloom. He kept on watering it. He kept on cultivating, time into that plant, giving it the attention it needed, and eventually, boom, it started to blossom. But it takes patience. It says, "Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh." So, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of things around us that can stir up doubt, whether it be, our family that's not in this truth with us, or, like I said, lost relationships, scoffers, people going about their business, even though, we have the eyes to see and see things happening, but everybody else is just, living their lives. But we can't let that break our patience. We can't let that break our trust. We have to stay faithful, and we will be rewarded by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai if we continue to stay faithful. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Oh, actually, no, we're not going to grab this yet. We're going to end it with that, though. But we're going to grab Ecclesiasticus chapter 11 and verse 20, which says, "Be steadfast in thy covenant, and be conversant therein, and wax old in thy work." So basically grabbing this to show that we got to stick to it. And it says to be conversant in the covenant we have made. And being conversant is basically, let's just grab the etymology. Being conversant is having frequent or customary intercourse, also acquainted by familiar use or study, which means that we are occupied in this truth. We are occupied in prophecies. We meditate upon the Lord day and night, daily. And it says, "Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord and abide in thy labor. For it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on the sudden to make a poor man rich." And that's something that can stir up doubt within this investment that we're making, because at the stage that we're at, if we don't have the ability to see afar off, and we're just seeing where we're at right now, we lowly, we're going through it, bodily ailments, mental ailments, at just in a messed up state. And it's going to get worse than where we're at right now when we get to the time of Jacob's trouble, to where that's going to be the lowest low. We're going to be really going through it. You think we're going through it right now, we're going to be really going through it. And that's the beauty about this truth, because the Lord wants to see who is going to stick through to the end, who is going to wait to see the fruits of their labors manifest. It says, "The blessing of the Lord is in the reward of the godly, and suddenly he maketh his blessing flourish. Say not, what profit is there of my service, and what good things shall I have hereafter?" Right? Because the Lord in an instant is going to take us from the low state that we're in this world and bring us to being at the top in the next. And that leads me to the last precept, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 verse 1, which says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors." Hey, just like I brought up with Noah, when that flood came, the same people that was scoffing against him and saying that he was tripping, what didn't want to listen, they was the same people banging on the door of that ark when the time came. And so when the time comes, when we receive salvation, the same people that doubted us, the same people that didn't trust the process, that didn't stick through it, the same people that thought we were crazy, when they see us receive salvation, when they see us in our glory, receiving our reward, it's going to be the same type of feeling. It's going to, we're gonna be like the water, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, for allowing me to stick through, to trust in this investment. It says, "When they see it, they should be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for." The strangeness of the salvation being when we receive salvation through the chariots of the Lord, which this world knows as UFOs, when we are beamed up from the destruction coming to this place America. It says, "And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is among the saints?" So we got to stick through it. It's hard, because we're not seeing the fruits right now, but the Lord has blessed us with the ability to have a faith, with the gift of faith, to see what's not seen. So we can see afar off and see that city that we're fighting for, see that city that we're being patient for, and that allows us to stick through. We have to get out of the carnal, sensual mindset of just seeing where we're at right now and remembering what this is all for, what the investment, is all for. We know, what we receive at the end of the investment. We know the, we know what happens at the end. We know the reward that we're going to receive. Now we're just in the process of being patient upon receiving that reward. And it, like I mentioned, is hard, because it's the greatest form of delayed gratification. It's the greatest form of, putting ourselves off and waiting for something greater. But as the scriptures say, we have to lay our treasures up in heaven. That's what this fight is. And the harvest will be bountiful. We just gotta wait though and keep on fighting. So hey, Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahawah Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, and a salutation unto the elect. Shalom.